So you're from Egypt originally?
Egypt, yes. I'm here now also. So born here, raised, lived, I guess still it counts as most of my life until I graduated from university, then moved
Okay.
to Europe, worked there full time at Amazon actually,
That
for 5 years, and here we are, a few 2, 3 years after that.
So you were born and raised in Cairo. What's Cairo like? I'd love to hear your impressions of Cairo.
For me, I always look at it as a city of cities. It's because it's just so big and population is so much that your life is not in Cairo overall. Your life is in just one part of Cairo. So the part of the city where you live is the same part where you will go to school. Your parents will go to work in that same part. Almost all your friends will be living also on that part. So you're living on just a part of Cairo. And then on the other side, people will be doing the same. So it's kind of, yeah, because it doesn't make sense with all the traffic and distances to, commute to any other part. And yeah, I know obviously, relatively speaking to other places, it can be overwhelming for people. I've heard that feedback when they come, but yeah, to me, it's just, I guess grew up with it, so it's normal.
Did you find that growing up in such a big city where it's possible you never get to different neighborhoods at all in your life, like, did that at all inspire an interest in travel, or do you think your interest in travel is just kind of an innate thing?
I think it developed over time. I don't think it's necessarily coming from being here, and I think it came when I first, I think, traveled for the first time on my own. I remember that during university, and I went on like an exchange program where I would volunteer, and I had like a list of different countries where I would pick which country I would go to, and that was in 2014, and that was at the same time as the World Cup, and Brazil was hosting. And I'm a sports guy, I guess. So I was like, oh, that could be interesting. While they're hosting, probably a lot of big atmosphere, fun atmosphere. Let me choose that one. And when I got there, volunteers from all around the world were there, and that was the first solo trip I had for 2 months. I stayed there, and I think that was the beginning of it all, just being surrounded by totally different culture, completely on my own, having to figure things out on my own, learn things, and kind of my lines, I guess. I don't know how to call it. Just, I guess you can call it comfort zone also, or just
Yeah.
way of doing things and being surrounded by people also from other cultures and, meeting them and making friends with people from other cultures. It's not a thing here in Egypt. Here, you only meet Egyptians. So that was also kind of a first for me at the age of 20. Uh, so yeah, it was the start of, I'm like, oh, I like this. I want more of this. I wonder what else is out there.
And then after university, you were working in Europe for Amazon for a few years.
I was based in Luxembourg for 3 years and Germany for 2 years.
Okay.
And again, that was the beginning of actually being able to do it because working in Europe, having a salary in Europe allowed me to have the financial capability of actually doing it. I didn't have it before while growing up in Egypt and our family. But having that suddenly, it opened the door. I'm like, oh, I can go to London on a weekend. I can go to, of course, you start with what you start with, the London, the Paris, the Amsterdam, the big ones on the list. And then slowly over time, kind of diverge into, let's say, less known places a little bit. That was also gradual over time while living in Europe, in places in Europe also, but it's because I was based there and could work there.
And during this time, were you kind of starting to like have the initial seeds of this idea of going on like a longer, bigger scale trip?
I had in mind to take a sabbatical. I had that early on, I remember. And I remember that was part of why was trying to save as much as I could because I had this idea in mind. I had in mind at least like I called it a year of freedom. And it's funny in my notes, in my like personal notes, I would call it a title, Project Freedom. But it was in my mind was 1 year of freedom. So that was on my mind. Yes. Big trip, where I would just take a backpack and go and
And
see as much of the world as I can. So it was in my mind early on, yeah.
how did you come up with the eventual idea, like going without a plane from Egypt all the way to Japan? How did you land on that idea?
Yeah, this came after, I think, was it a year and a half maybe already? So I left the job, and then I thought it was 1 year, and then after one, I was thinking, okay, maybe let's go for two. And then I was traveling in Latin America, and I remember that's where the travel style came from, I would say. I was traveling in Latin America, and I was doing research on all the places that are interesting to see, places worth visiting, for all the different reasons, nature, culture, all the stuff. And I would always bookmark it on the map whenever I see something that I like. Yeah, bookmark. And after I was done, I looked at the map, I zoomed out, and I looked at all the bookmarks. I'm like, oh, they're all close to each other. It's just I mean, for me, I take interest in a lot of things, so maybe that's part of it. But to say that, well, why would I take a plane? If okay, I'll start from the top, and then the next bookmark or whatever, it's close by, kind of like, okay, a few hours by bus or whatever, and then a few more hours, and then even, let's say, 12, 14, but there was no real reason to take a flight because there was always something that is interesting and worth seeing. Uh, and around at the end of that trip, I'm like, oh, I'm actually liking this style of travel. I've rarely been taking flights, and it allows me to see more of the world and experience more. And that was part of it. Things that would happen on the way would make for great memories. And I'm thinking, oh, this would never happen on a flight. I don't remember having a great, profound memory from a flight. Not to that extent. I remember having good views, la la la, but yeah, the events happen, let's say, on the ground, and you see the landscape and everything, and you see the people. So I thought after that one, and I came back to Egypt, I thought I've never traveled east of Egypt before, anywhere in Asia. I have not been. So it came to my mind, okay, I want to go east from Egypt, and I want to see as much as possible because I haven't seen any of it. So that's where the idea came. Initially, okay, let me then do it without flying, so I see as much as possible and pass by many places. And then came after, okay, let me put an end point at the far end of the continent to make it like a destination. Like that's where I would end it. And I was thinking between Australia and Japan, actually, and
Wow.
eventually settled on Japan. And then I just made, okay, let me make a kind of a challenge out of it, or like a that I will be, adamant on, okay, I'm not going to take a flight rather than just being an idea. Okay, this is, I'm going to commit to it.
And you started, I think, with your social media following, basically probably just being friends and family, right? I mean, you
My
really
account
built.
was private. Yeah,
That's
absolutely. Yeah.
crazy.
Actually, I give credit to some of my closest friends. They were the ones over time, over the year or two before, just always telling me, "Hey, you should share more. You should make videos, make your account public, things you're doing, the places you're going, all that." So they were actually the ones giving me the push, and I was like, "Oh, I don't feel like it." And then I think eventually, when I was in Dubai on this journey from Egypt to Japan, my friend told me, when you're going to Iran by boat, just make a like a 15-20 second video. Just say what you're doing and where you're going, and you'll see the reaction. And he was like very confident. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll try it. Okay, I guess. And then I did. I'm like, oh, okay, people are interested in this. And then in Iran specifically, I was seeing things and meeting people that was the complete opposite of the idea of most people about Iran from what you get from mainstream media and so on. And for me, this was like, oh, this is worth sharing.
Yes.
My mom is worried sick and she's sending me all these messages, are you okay? And so on every day. And I'm like, Mom, you don't understand what's happening here. The people, it's amazing here and so on. And people are taking care of you. Like there is no danger here really, like from a foreigner point of view. And so this complete contrast motivated me to share more rather than just do like a 15-20 second video. Okay, let me explain what happens during the day. Let me show who I meet and the places I go. And also, I credit to another friend who gave me the idea of share more from your day. What you do, where you go. It's all the pieces came together. I guess around that time.
I watched a lot of your YouTube videos, like when you first started and you sailed off to Saudi Arabia. Had that been like a private thing for friends and family, or
No,
what was
no.
that?
This was yeah, yeah. It was more of a on a specific sections, I guess, or some days that I could find interesting. So in my mind, I thought I could make
Mm.
like maybe 10, 15 videos from the most interesting sections along the way, rather than a deep dive down into how the day is going and so on. So I guess in Iran was then I shifted from that to a deep dive and kind of almost a daily video and go into more details. And yeah.
It's interesting starting in Saudi Arabia, especially if you're traveling on a budget with this money you saved. Like, I loved all your videos, but the Saudi Arabia ones, like, my heart went out to you, like the sticker shock of how expensive the country is, and you're just starting out and you're on this budget. And like, I think the first night you had nowhere to sleep, right? And a
Yeah.
guy took you in. What was that experience like starting out in such a tough way?
Yeah, it was part of, I guess, part of the uncertainty I had. Uh, because some people ask me what was the toughest part of the journey or toughest obstacle or something along those lines. And I would always say the first day. The first day was my
Mm.
hardest of the whole journey, just for the start. And it's because of reasons like that, like you mentioned. I'm going to, let's say this would be Saudi Arabia. One would be where, like, okay, it's completely out of my budget, generally speaking, like accommodations and so on. And I would almost have to rely on either camping or if I happen to meet someone or things like that, that would just be not what I was relying on before because barely anyone goes like and shares like Iran, Afghanistan, all these places. To come back to your question, how it felt, yeah, I felt while starting, I felt overwhelmed. I felt scared. Um, I remember my last night before crossing, I could not sleep. And then when
Wow.
in the morning, when I was saying farewell to my dad, I was like, hey, can we speak? Can we talk for a second here? I told him, I laid it all out. I'm like, I couldn't sleep. I'm like, what am I doing? And like, this is all overwhelming. And like, what am I about to do? But he told me something interesting. He told me it's just because you haven't started. And as soon as you step foot on that boat, you will get back. It will be okay. And
Mm.
I don't know if it was a thing to make me actually just start and see how it goes, or he actually believed so. But it's interestingly enough, as soon as I stepped foot on that boat, I'm like, ooh, even though the boat didn't start yet, we were waiting for cargo to load. And I was like, oh, okay, more settled. Okay, back to the rhythm now, back to of being on the road and focusing on what's ahead of me rather than the whole big picture that I'm about to start, the whole big journey, just being in the moment around me and okay, what's next? Oh, we're gonna cross. Let's exciting. Just focusing on that, I guess, and that's what like being in the rhythm did for me. And then in South, I knew I guess I had to probably camp at some point, and uh, it was just cold. That was the thing. It was not the camping part. That was okay. It was in the desert, like a small desert town. So it has desert weather and the desert is, extreme heat in the day, extreme cold in the night. Yeah, a bit stressful. But over time, I think I learned, especially on this journey, something that I noticed happen in me is I started to think differently. I started to whenever I'm in a situation or circumstance that is, let's say, not going according to plan, or maybe other people would call it like a bad situation, I don't call it a bad situation anymore. I just look at it and I think it's either a good outcome or a good story or memory. And that's became the way I think whenever I'm in these kinds of situations. Either things will work out, or if it doesn't work out, then at least it will probably be a fun memory or like an interesting memory to look back on or story to tell. I guess it can be survival bias, but it's just a mindset to have. That's for me. Mindset to have in these situations that helps me to improvise and adapt and go on with a positive mindset.
And to contextualize for people, Omar started the trip leaving Egypt for Saudi Arabia on a cargo ship. That's the ship we're talking about. And then that first night after getting into Saudi Arabia, he's going to all these different hotels and they're very expensive. And you were almost going to spend a night in the mosque, right? And then a stranger drove you home and let you stay in his house. That was a real miracle.
Yeah, I just asked this guy, is the mosque open 24/7 or does it close? Or is there a mosque that opens 24/7? Because I already had decided that I wanted to sleep in a mosque or had to, or yeah. Mm. And he said, yeah, they close, but why? And then he started to ask, and then he started to know what's going on. And then uh, he was working at the like tourist information center kind of thing. There are some excursions that leave from that town to the desert, like safaris and things like that. He eventually told me, hey, I have an extra bed and I can host you. You're welcome to stay at my place. The next day, we'll explore the desert. There were some interesting, like ancient hieroglyphs or like writings, inscriptions on rocks and things like that. So yeah, that's how it ended up. I'm like, whoa, excellent start. And that start was actually how it worked out. It spoke to the theme of a lot of what happened after in the journey as well, where similar things where I would just meet people on the street and either they would host or they would help. I would ask someone about a place to eat, just looking for food, and they would invite me. Okay, let's go. Well, that's just in this part of the world, especially I would say from Iran, Afghanistan, and Central Asia region, but also in Saudi Arabia. Uh, there was also some of that, yeah, but it became a big theme for sure.
Do you think that it changed your perception of people in general and what they're capable of? Like, do you feel like you see human beings differently after all this travel?
So I stopped almost kind of separating people or putting in boxes in a way. Not that I did it before much, but I started thinking more in terms of that we're all one. We're all like people are just people everywhere. They just want to go about their daily life, want to go out with friends and provide for their family and have good times. And that's the essence of people everywhere. No matter what you read in the news, will make you, if you rely on news, it will make you scared of many places. And yeah, just open my mind to, yeah, I guess the essence of people and what we can do for each other, and yeah, a beautiful side of human beings. Yeah, that is not maybe as shown, is not shown as much as maybe the some bad sides of certain people or that could be in certain positions of power or something. I don't think the
Yeah.
good side of humans is shown as much.
And it seems like you especially got that hospitality in Iran. I mean, you spent a lot of time in Iran. I watched your route and it seemed like you were kind of making some circles or just really taking your time there. Can you tell us about your time in Iran and what you liked about it?
My first night in Iran is kind of similar to my first night in Saudi Arabia. Actually, I had just also taken a boat from the Emirates to cross to Iran, and arriving in the night after going through immigration that didn't understand what I was doing there or what's happening. When they finally let me go, I was in a new city with zero knowledge of the place, and it was already like 11 in the night. Uh, and with no idea where to go because you cannot look up accommodations in Iran. Like if you open a booking.com or whatever accommodation website you look on, it's not there. So yeah, no idea where to go basically. And as someone walking on the sidewalk literally just saw me with the backpack and was curious. I was like, hey, where are you going or what's happening? I'm like, yeah, I just arrived and yeah, I'm looking for a hotel. Do you know of any accommodation nearby or somewhere I can sleep? And then he said, yeah, I'll show you. I'll take you to one. He said, I'll take you to a good accommodation place. Come, you can come with me in the car now. I'm going. Now, of course, in the night, in a place where it's not next to the port, not many people on the street, barely anyone at that time of the night. 99% of people will probably say no. Stranger telling me to come in the car, but I trust in my instincts. Over time, I learned to trust my instincts with these things and my sense for people. And my instincts told me he's a good guy just looking to help. So I went into his car. On the way, just after 2, 3 minutes of trying to chit chat because of the language barriers, even, he told me, you know what? Why don't you come to my place? And I'll call my brother, I'll call my friend, and we'll make an evening out of it. And so he passes by, he picks up his brother, his friend, and we get some food and we make it at home and we just spend like hours at night uh, at his place just hanging out. And that was like, wow, first night in Iran, and that's the reception. And that also spoke volumes to the rest of the time. People were always friendly and willing to help. And yeah, the people were definitely my favorite thing about Iran. And it's interesting also, it's not just the people. So when someone asks me what I recommend for them a place to go, now I say Iran to everyone. It doesn't matter what you like because there's just something for everyone. There's the history, there's the old architecture, there's bustling big nightlife or big city life, if you want. There's also there. Deserts are there, jungles, beach life, islands. There's just all kinds of different things from what people like when they travel. So that also, I guess, was a positive, a big positive. Many different cultures within Iran also, like different ethnic groups, especially around the border areas or provinces close to the border. There will be Azerbaijanis, there will be Kurds, there will be Arabs, and towards Pakistan also different. Yeah, so a lot of diversity also.
Yeah. And were you able, as an Arabic and English speaker, to speak with a lot of Iranians? Were there a lot of English speakers, or do you know any Farsi?
Arabic and Farsi, they use the same alphabet, but have nothing, I mean, barely anything to do with each other, so I would not understand. A lot of Google Translate and hand gestures and sign language. Uh, I think I became very good in the game charades if I ever play it again. If I have to act out something, I get my message across.
You mentioned that a lot of immigration officers, just like in Iran and other places too, I saw they didn't really know what to do with you because you were in all these countries that are kind of off the beaten path. What was that experience like having to get a visa and leave and come back and things like that?
You know, I see it on their faces before they speak or do anything. I already see it on their faces, the confusion or the like, what is that? Like I would hand over my passport. Like, what do you want? I see the confusion that like this is something rare that they're seeing, and they're not. Maybe they don't know the protocol, or like, oh, remind me again what we're supposed to do with this guy, or what does he need or doesn't need, or from papers. I just see. It happens a lot that they have to ask someone else and bring someone else into the conversation. Yeah, especially maybe as an Egyptian. Yeah, like entering Iran that night, they were like, "Well, you need a visa," and I'm like, "Well, I don't need a." It's funny that Egyptians don't need a visa, but to my point is that they didn't know. They were just surprised. Like, well, it's almost like no Egyptian ever made. I'm sure somewhat did, but that's the feeling I get always, like the confusion and not knowing what to do kind of thing, and me
Yeah.
having to explain what's happening and why I'm here, and yeah, in many instances, it yeah, it becomes interesting for them, and it's okay. In other instances, they can become maybe suspicious. I'm used to being in interrogation rooms, I guess. It happened several times. Put me in a room and some questions, and I became very accustomed to these situations that even if it could be stressful for most people, it's like for me, it's like I'm inside a story. I'm
Well,
I'm living inside a story, so it's like my mind is already in the future, looking back at this moment. I'm like, oh, I wonder how the story will turn out, or how the memory will will continue of this situation. What's the next chapter? Let's see. So it's almost like I'm very, maybe nonchalant is the word. Nonchalant
yeah.
means doesn't care, no, but I care. It's just very at ease is what I want to say. Very at
Yeah.
ease and
Well,
just smiling and let's see.
it probably changed you fundamentally as far as your comfort level with uncertainty and not knowing what's going to happen next. It's probably made your brain much more flexible. Like, do you feel like this has kind of permanently changed you?
Definitely, definitely over time, exactly as you say, just being comfortable with the uncertainty. I think this is uh, yeah, I became more comfortable, and also this positive mindset of thinking this way to say it's either a good outcome or a good story. So
Mm.
also this positive mindset helps me get through the situation. Um, Looking at it as a story in the future or a memory in the future. I'm already out of, let's say, the negative part and already in the positive part.
That's so interesting that you describe it like you're seeing a moment from the future because a recurring thought I've had, like hundreds of thousands of people I've followed your travels, and I'm always like, how does he stay so present in the moment? Because a lot of trips I've had, even when you're having a really good time or it's like a beautiful situation, you're like, when is this over? I'm getting back soon, or like I have work waiting for me or this waiting for me. It seemed like you were a lot more comfortable taking your time and just like enjoying where you were than the average person would have been.
I try to. I try my best. Sometimes I find my mind wandering into kind of what's next,
Yeah.
but I think it's stemmed from curiosity and excitement about maybe the place I'll go next, or the thing I'll experience next or something like that. But whenever I catch myself doing that, I'm like, no, no, It's okay. It will come later. That's all right. As long as you know and you're going there, that's okay. Yeah. Focus on the now. While I while I enjoy being in the present, sometimes it happens that I myself uh, thinking about the next part, and then I kind of ground myself back to where I am.
And that must have come in handy. I mean, when you were in Afghanistan, my eyebrows are going up still. I mean, that was crazy. And I think you didn't even publish live ones when you were there because you were worried about safety, right?
I was worried about like rebel groups because yeah, because there are different ethnic groups. So whoever is in charge now, there will be rebel groups against. It's the case now. So there's that security situation, and I didn't want if someone was watching or something to know. Uh, so just as a precaution, but definitely interesting times. I never thought in my life that I would be crossing from Iran to Afghanistan overland. Uh, that was my thinking when I was going on the van. I'm like, oh, I never thought I would be ever be doing this. But again, same scenario kind of played out in terms of locals on hospitality. Just getting off the van, meeting people. They are so happy that someone is visiting. They don't look at you as a tourist as much as they look at you as a guest. You're a guest in their country, and then you will notice their treatment to you accordingly. Also, even if a stranger on the street, they're looking at you as a guest. So, hey, let me get you a snack, or let me invite you to a meal, or let me show you around, or something. They're always curious and eager to welcome you.
What was it like being in Afghanistan and how long were you there for?
I was there 2 weeks,
Okay.
and funny that sometimes when people ask if I had any regrets along the way, I think it's only one, and it's that I didn't spend more time in Afghanistan, more time than the 2 weeks. Uh, yeah, I think culturally, maybe one of the most different cultures I have experienced. And I was always dressed in the Afghan dress. Every time someone hosted me, I would find them gifting me a local dress to wear and then insisting that I keep it. It's the hospitality is really, and even it's not. So they will want to give to you, and without expecting or wanting anything in return. Like it's not, they don't think like that. They want to just make you feel as welcome as possible and uh, show you a good time, and you have a good, interactions with people and the culture, the food. Oh my God, the food, things I didn't have no idea what it is actually. So I don't even know how to describe it or tell someone what it's made of. It just tastes good. That's all I know. Definitely interesting, also very interesting in some aspects, like um, transport and seeing like the things on the way. Like some people would just drive through like uh, roads that are not really roads; they're just paths on desert and things like that. Uh, so yeah, food was great. People were hospitable. I happened to meet some Taliban when I was there. Um, yeah, they were very curious and like curious about me, but oh, where are you from? What are you doing here? Where are you going? La la. La. Um, so yeah, no issues there. Even for yeah, it was the same scenario of hand gestures, a lot of hand gestures, and but some spoke some English, I think, which yeah sometimes helped.
Did you feel like you were in danger, or did people feel like they were in danger? Did you get that sense from people there?
You would see things that would indicate that, or maybe make you feel like that. Because, for example, I would always see people with um, just big guns just wrapped around them, and they're on the street, and that's normal. They would usually be Taliban, I guess, now. Um, so I would always see these guns, so, which would give you the impression that it's dangerous, but I didn't personally feel in danger, um, just because of how well everyone was treating me. If there was any danger, I realized after it was just in case I got caught up between a fight of two different groups there.
Mm.
That would be the scenario where you would be in danger or I would be in danger.
Mhm.
But in terms of, like crime or something like that, it's not really because that's not their culture really, but it's just the fighting between some groups that would be the danger scenario. So it's
Are
just
there
not being caught up in that, I guess, by
right.
coincidence.
Are there hotels in Afghanistan? Like, once you get there, you like, "I guess I'll go find a hotel to stay at?"
So there are. Um, it's in my case, I made 4 or 5 stops there, and every time except one time, I was hosted by someone or a family or like someone I meet on a bus or like just very random things. And also, if someone hosts me, they will tell me, "Oh, I know someone in that other city that you're going to or passing through. I can connect you," and then they host you also. So in that sense, I didn't have much experience. In that only one place, I was looking for a budget accommodation, and there are the normal hotels which are geared for the little tourists that go. But for my budget, I mean, something else, which they have there something that is it's a restaurant, but it's also a sleeping place. I wouldn't really call it a hotel, it's just a sleeping place. So you would go and you wouldn't know it from outside. So I would find a restaurant. Okay. I go inside. Usually they would have some rooms either at the back or on the second floor. And that was how it was. I just went into a restaurant. Hey, do you have rooms? No? Okay. And then I go to another restaurant. Sometimes they show me or, okay, thanks. And I'll try another one I don't know, if I don't like it very much. So yeah, this one time I did it, that was the case. They told me, oh, we have on the second floor, and they showed me, and it was just a room, literally just a room. So meaning there's nothing inside. Like there's a piece of kind of piece of pillow, like long pillow, the one you would sit on. I don't know if you like stretches all length as same as the wall, just if you want to sit on the ground, but also it's for sleeping on it, I guess.
Hmm,
But that's
okay.
it. No table, no nothing. It's 4 walls.
I'm sure 4 walls in an empty room was probably pretty awesome some nights, because there were times, I think, right, when you would have to sleep overnight on a bus and things like that?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Not that I was complaining. It was just interesting how it worked and that it works like that, and that's the style of the room. That's that's
Yeah.
my that's my point. Not in terms that I was complaining. I was like, yeah, there's a room. I have my lock, so I can lock the door. All good.
And you mentioned, in one of the Afghanistan videos that, like, you never even really saw women on the streets. Like, can you talk to us a little bit about gender and, as a woman watching you, like so many people, I was kind of vicariously living through you, and I would have the thought to myself, like, could I have done the same trip alone? Probably the answer is no.
I would see women, but it's just it's a very conservative society. Also, I think this might get lost on some people's thoughts. Even without the ruling party or the strict laws that might be put in place, even outside of that or even aside from that, it's actually a very conservative society already, even before the laws get added or something like that. So even my host family, I would not sit with the women. It's just their culture. Like I'm a
Right.
strange man in the house. I'm always sitting with the men. That's just the culture thing, and women sit with the women. Uh, if they're the family, they would sit together, but as long as there are like strangers involved, either women or men, they would just sit with their same gender. Uh, so if that's an example of even without the law or the ruling party or Taliban or anything outside or in, it's just in the house. It's just like a culture and society thing. So there are these two aspects, both coexisting. That it's a very conservative society, plus that yes, Taliban now have strict rules and laws that would not be in favor of women. Let's say in some I think I heard about continuing some education or things like that. So both things coexist, which that's the aspect. Yeah. So I didn't talk with many women, well, any women there because of those two factors. Um, but except for one time, because there are different ethnic groups, like I mentioned, and in the mountains and in the rural areas, it's a different ethnic group and they have a slightly different culture. And for them, it's okay. And I was sitting next to two women and we were chatting, talking about life and, you know, so yeah, different ethnic groups will also behave differently and be okay with different things. In terms of being able to do a trip there as a woman, it's very uncommon, but I think it is possible still. I think I didn't see personally there, but I heard or maybe I saw from social media about, yeah, a solo woman doing it. And I think
Wow.
from what I saw was that she had very positive experiences. It was just different because she would be, let's say, greeted and hosted by women, let's say, things like that. So again, part of the gender conservatism or separation or things like that. So yeah, slightly different experience, but still same hospitality, for example, still same
Yeah.
that people want to kind of that you have a good time and you're safe and things like that.
And after this trip, you announced that you were going to do something similar across the Indian subcontinent. How was that trip? How long did it take? Can you tell us where exactly you went?
Yeah, in comparison, of course, smaller, but it still took me for 4.5 months.
Oh,
I made it to Japan, and then I thought I'm such a long way from home. I want to take advantage of this opportunity that I'm already far. And rather than take one flight home, I would kind of divide it. So I would do like a stopover on the way. Let's say, so I did it in Taiwan 2 weeks. And of course, within reason that the flight difference that I make it separated into different flights would not be much more expensive than one flight. That was my way of thinking. So I would take advantage of the distance and pass again, visit places on the way. I went in Sri Lanka and then I thought this is a good season and time to visit India. So I thought, okay, let me cross the Indian subcontinent from bottom to top without flying. So it took 4.5 months, and yeah, was also very interesting. India changes people. For me, it made me okay with less things. I became more flexible with less things. I started to eat by hand, for example, and I loved it. And people here, but even back home here, they look at me weirdly, and they like I could be eating rice with something and I would be eating with my hand and I'm loving it. And they would be like, Omar, what are you doing? I guess sometimes that's what travels does to you. You can pick up on certain things from different places that you visit and you may like, and you may like something that you want to kind of follow and do the same. Could be big things or small things. But yeah, India is mad. It's a mad place. Whenever someone would ask me, how are you doing? I'm saying, I'm experiencing the full breadth of human emotions in one day, everything. I'm experiencing it, like from all the positives, all the negatives, everything in between. It's just like a roller coaster. And I know some people sometimes I meet that would not enjoy traveling there, but for me, I like being on roller coasters, so it was fine. I loved it.
what about India makes it feel that way to you and other people?
Yeah, it's usually people would say you either love it or hate it. And that's true in terms of the other travelers that I met. There's kind of no in between. People will always say love it. And I was always both at the same time, all the time. Just because I don't know, it's just things that you're constantly experiencing every day. The positives, the food, the people are nice, so many beautiful nature around. Then negatives, you'll find all this chaos and all these things that don't work like how you're used to, or in order, or just maybe hygiene, things like that. So you're always having those both elements of positives and negatives every day. Especially if you're backpacking, you can hop on, like you can stay in hotels and go on tours, and I think that will negate, is that the word, or will remove a lot of maybe the negative part that a backpacker would experience, someone just hopping on local buses and doing things like that. And that will still be fine. I think we'll have a great time because just there's so much there. There's so
Yeah.
much.
And it seemed like you were having a lot of different experiences of spirituality in India, Buddhist sites, Hindu sites. I imagine someone with the amount of travel you've done, it's going to change how you feel about politics, about governments, about spirituality, organized religion. Did you have any sort of changes that you noticed in yourself due to seeing all these different things?
Obviously, yeah, that was also a part of India. I failed to mention all the different religions there and very, very interesting, things on that topic and places and habits of people. But what it did, seeing all these different things religiously, politically, also ways of life generally. It made me try always to think from scratch, because I think a lot of a lot of us, as a lot of our personality is already personality, opinions, values. I think a lot of that is already very dependent on how you grow up, the environment you grow up in, the society around you, uh, what people do and think around you. Seeing all the different things and how people, yeah, they're like that here because they grew up in the society, so it kind of feeds itself. Similar, a different place, same thing. Very different values, very different ways of life, and that's what it made me always try to think of. I tried to disconnect myself from the things that I was raised on and try as much as possible to clear my mind and think kind of from scratch and see what I really think of certain things and my, let's say, real opinion on some things, rather than having this opinion because I was fed information and society maybe and people around me and community already had this in mind and already did these things, so I do it also. So that was the, I think that was its most noticeable effect on me.
I imagine there must be like a paradox or a real contrast that you may not be able to resolve. Like if I were in your shoes, I'd probably feel so much more understanding and love for humanity as a whole. But also, going back to Egypt, eating with my hands, and people around me are like, "What are you doing?" I wonder if there are times where you feel like you've reached so many people, probably millions of people, and I wonder if there are moments where on like a small scale or micro level, it can feel hard to translate what you experience to other people or relate what happened to other people. Do you go through that at all?
Sometimes I find people around me not understanding why I think the way I think or why I say certain things or do certain things, um, and I try to explain sometimes. But yes, I do experience it sometimes that they don't understand. And my thought is not that I say it, but I would see that it's because they haven't experienced what I experienced. And but that's okay. People will experience different things in their life, and it will shape who they are and what they do. So I'm okay with it. I experience it, but I'm okay with it. I don't have to I don't have to force my opinion or my habits on anyone else or my thoughts on anyone else. I can share what I experienced and what I learned, but I cannot force anything.
Wow.
I, I can just share my
Yeah.
perspective.
And doing all these trips solo, like you interacted with so many people, you made so many friends, and I saw you into friends randomly at various points. But I imagine also like you probably had to create much more of a friendship with yourself, just trusting your own instincts, trusting your own kind of inner guidance. Do you feel like your relationship with yourself has changed after all this travel?
Deep. I, uh, um, I don't think about it too much, but now that I think about it and you ask, yeah, to in points like trusting myself more, um, trusting my decisions, trusting my capabilities, not putting too much pressure on myself. I sometimes I say this like jokingly, half serious to people when they ask me something or about, oh, what's gonna happen if this? And I tell them now. I start to tell them, I made a deal with the universe. We're good friends now, so I'm not gonna worry about that. But I
Yeah.
think it comes from a positive mindset.
Yes, I agree that it can be a good outcome or a good story, but felt happy for you watching that you had a lot of like lucky breaks as far as like accommodations and travel and getting rides. Did you ever feel like this is more than a coincidence? This is the universe helping me, or is it like you're saying, just being very positive and having a positive mindset, or is it both?
It's a bit of both for sure, and I will add a third. Some faith in humanity. So it's a mix of all three that make me at ease. Let's say if I'm on a secluded road somewhere, like just trusting in the universe, trusting in if other people pass by because it's really secluded, let's say, and I don't see any cars, trusting that if someone passes by, they would offer help. Uh, Trusting in myself to keep staying positive, keep walking, let's say, if even if the other two failed to work out, that there's still me taking action and doing something about it. So yeah, trusting myself, the universe, and other people. A mix of faith and all three definitely go a long way.
And you just announced your biggest trip ever. Would you like to share with us what you're going to be doing next?
Yeah, I will be aiming to go west this time. So again, start from Egypt, from home. This time going west, also without flying and commitment to not taking any flight, and keep going west, keep going west, keep going west until hopefully the aim is to end where I started. So
Wow.
end back. So home is the starting point and the destination. First step is Libya to west of Egypt. There are two governments, a government in the east and a government in the west, and there's some fighting, which there's no media coverage on, and need some permits because the government in the east will have to let me go to the government in the west, but they will be suspicious. Then we can talk about all the oceans that we'll have to cross somehow. Just a lot of things.
Well, if anyone can handle it successfully, I know that you can. So I'm sure you will find solutions. You know, a lot of Americans, we as a country are kind of known for people not having passports or not leaving the country. If someone is watching this who wants to take a trip but doesn't know where to start or they're a little intimidated, what advice would you give to somebody who wants to travel more and just hasn't yet?
Yeah, I would say to take it step by step, especially if as you describe it, they're reluctant or hesitant or things, then step by step is I would say the way to go. Don't have to go to somewhere opposite different of the US, let's say in that case. To start, you can start off slow and see how you feel. Start off maybe somewhere that is different, but still many similarities. So you wouldn't feel a big shock or, a big, that can be positive if depending on the type of person. So and then see how you feel. If you like that difference, then okay, you can go for more. You can go for more and see how much you can go. Taking that first step is usually the hardest. It's taking that first. It's like a leap of faith. And once you're in it, then you kind of this feeling usually of maybe uncertainty or hesitation, it kind of goes away and you're suddenly in this new place surrounded by these new people and you're observing and you're learning, and that feeling goes away after. It's just, I think that comes with the first step, and I think it was the same for me. Like I mentioned, Egypt to Japan, I was overwhelmed. I was like, wow, what am I doing? All this uncertainty, all these things, and all it needed was that first step. And after that, things will flow. You'll find yourself in a rhythm. Yeah, focus on what's around you, hopefully, and yeah, immersing yourself and the learnings from it and the perspective of a person's mind, like a perspective of a person, they just expand enormously with that.
And for you, is that kind of the main benefit of travel? Like, I think you must travel just because simply you love it and it's your essence. But I mean that expansion of your mind and your experience, would you say that's the main motivation that people
It's
should?
one of the main ones for sure. One of the main ones for sure. I'm constantly learning, constantly, seeing new things that would maybe expand my way of thinking, or let's say something as simple as eating by hands. It's an example, but it's just concept is there. Just you sometimes you will learn certain things from different places, and yeah, just for me also a big part is adventure. So it's for me it's kind of a mix of different reasons.
Yeah.
Uh, but definitely plays a big part.
I think a lot of people would have said like, what's wrong with you that you haven't? And it's just nice that I see that like humanitarianism in your answer.
We're all very similar, and also even with big differences, we are still more similar sometimes than people might think. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a big world. Sometimes there's this phrase that, oh, it's a small world. I think we think this way because um, of technology. That's my opinion. Our perspective of the world became that we look at it as smaller, maybe because of that. We can have this conversation right now on video when you're on the other side of the ocean. Something that, for more than 99% of human history was not possible. For you to
Mm.
travel for most of human history, you actually have to make the distance
Yeah.
yourself. The this air travel is the last 1% of history and it's relatively very new. So I think that's where maybe this comes from, that we think now it's a small world, but it's actually really big and there's a lot to see, a lot to learn, very interesting to see. It's one of the things that I'm most happy about for
Yeah.
the impact of this journey has had. All the different messages also that I received. I got many messages from moms who would tell me, I show your video every day to my kid or like young kid to teach them about the world and things that they may not necessarily learn at school, or things like these kinds of messages, or people telling me watching this journey and restored their faith in humanity or made them uh, overcome some tough times in their lives because they saw a lot of positivity out there. All these kinds of messages is really what made me personally most proud, also happy about the impact of the journey.
I can't wait to watch your journey around the world. It's going to be very inspiring.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time as well.